He grew up in privilege and he had it all, but he even became a Hollywood producer, and then it all came crashing down. I'm talking about the life story of Dr. Carter Stout that he has memorialized in a book called Lost in Ghost Town, a memoir of addiction, redemption, and hope in unlikely places. That's an awful lot of stuff there in that book, Dr. Carter. Nice to have you with us.
It is. Thanks so much for having me this morning.
So let's talk a little bit about the title, because Ghost Town may not be familiar to everyone, but where is it?
Ghost Town is a neighborhood in Venice, California. It is the Oakwood neighborhood, and it's called Ghost Town because there were so many homeless people and addicts that were walking the streets, so it looked like ghosts.
Yeah, it's funny because it has all kinds of nicknames, but that nickname seems to have stuck in that particular neighborhood. How does a guy who grows up as in the privilege, as I said at the beginning here, find himself in a position where you lose it all because of what?
Well, I lost it all really because of addiction. And addiction was a big part of my life for many years. And although I grew up in an affluent family in Washington, D.C., there were still things that I really felt like I was trying to figure out in my life. And I turned to drugs and alcohol as a way to soothe myself, and ended up really making a lot of bad decisions, and ultimately ending up, after a career working as a film producer, basically losing it all and becoming homeless and not having really any resources at all. But the one thing that I did have was a car. I had an old Ford Taurus, and it was because of that car that I got a job driving for a senior member of the Shoreline Crips gang in Venice. And in 2003, the Ghost Town, or the Oakwood neighborhood of Venice, was really the epicenter of all of the drug activity on the west side of Los Angeles. And a lot of people don't know that.
It was really bad, yeah.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
And so I started driving for this guy, and he really wasn't a typical drug dealer. He was self-educated and book smart and kind and family oriented. And it's really because of the friendship that we forged, the two of us, and the love that his grandmother bestowed upon me, because his grandmother lived in Venice as well. Mm-hmm. And they took me in, and they almost, even though we were involved in some nefarious activities, he really nursed me back to health and made me believe in myself again. And that's really ultimately how I found the courage to get sober.
Hope in unlikely places. That's a perfect description of that, just what you just said.
Yeah.
And so did you have an aha moment? Did you just suddenly say, you know what, I'm better than this?
Well, it was a combination of things. Things were getting pretty scary in Venice. I was involved with some people that were pretty dangerous. And I knew that if I didn't leave, that ultimately I might lose my life.
Yeah.
And that was really the aha moment, I think, that I wanted to live. But it was really the friendship and the kindness of this family in Venice that took me in, that propelled me to have the courage to leave and want to get better and ultimately get sober.
So at some point, Carter Stout became Dr. Carter Stout. So you really took this to heart and said, there's some life lessons here that I need to impart. Tell me about that journey.
Well, after I left Ghost Town, there were a couple years of bouncing around the East Coast, and I was really trying to figure things out, and made the decision at that time that I needed help. And I went into treatment for a few years, for about 5 months. Mm-hmm. And when I got out of treatment, I decided that Los Angeles wasn't a safe place for me. And so I was going to stay in New Mexico where I was, and I decided to apply to graduate school. And I was working 2 jobs at the time and taking night classes, and I had to go to a community college. And it really was a time that I had to reinvent my life. And I started going to a school of psychology, really enjoying it, knowing that my own journey potentially would allow me the ability to connect with others. And I spent the next 10 years in school, taking out student loans, put myself through school, and and ultimately earned a PhD in psychology. And now I have a practice here in Los Angeles, and I work with clients from all walks of life. And I really, one of the things that I didn't have for a long time in my life was a sense of purpose. And working with others has really given me this sense of purpose.
So there's the redemption. You've redeemed yourself.
There's the redemption. Exactly.
And how does your family now respond to you after all of this?
I am closer to my family than I have ever been. And I'm almost 15 years sober now. And I have 2 sisters, and they all have children, and we all get together. We got together on Mother's Day. It was wonderful. And for many years, I really did lose contact with them. They cut me off and really didn't want to have anything to do with me. And so that was one of the really beautiful things about getting sober. It took a while to earn that trust back, but in the end, they came back into the fold, and now we have beautiful relationships.
Well, the book is an interesting journey through your life, some unexpected twists and turns in there, some real surprises, and the fact that you survived all that is really absolute miracle. It's called Lost in Ghost Town, a memoir of addiction, redemption, and hope in unlikely places. Dr. Carter Stout, thanks so much for being with us on our show today. I wish you the very best and continued success.
Thanks for having me. It was really a pleasure talking to you.